So I'm Mike Hudson. I'm the director of the Museum of the American Printing House for the Blind, and we have received 22 pallets of materials from the American Foundation for the Blind Helen Keller Archive. And that includes objects from Helen Keller's life, our teacher Amy Sullivan's life, and also all kinds of papers that document the activities of the American Foundation for the Blind. Just an incredible collection. So we're gonna pop into these and see what we find. Everything seems to have come through very nicely. So what we got in this bin is a group of boxes of photographs from the collection. And then down here we have archival boxes that contain all kinds of documents, writings, speeches, letters, all that sort of thing. So let's move over to the table and we see what's in these boxes. So now that we're actually going to touch things, I've obviously put on my white gloves to protect things from the finger rolls. So this box is labeled Activity Sport Outdoors. So let's just open it up and see what we got. So it's individual folders. And here is a photograph of Helen and her assistant Polly Thompson. Can't really tell exactly what's going on, but they're standing maybe at a bird feeder. Maybe they're filling a bird feeder. This file is labeled Outdoor Sports, and so it's obviously pictures of her outdoors. Here is a fascinating one. I have a feeling that every file is going to be like this, but so here is one of her and her teacher Ann Sullivan on board a small boat in the 1930s, and they're obviously feeding the gulls because the gulls are just flying all around them. So every one of these file folders is probably full of fascinating little pieces of Helen's life, just like this. So this looks like a series of legal consent agreements. Ms. Helen Keller has asked me to prepare and forward to you this letter of response to your request for permission to give a proposed camp for blind persons in Dallas with a name that honors her. While we at the American Foundation for the Blind are sympathetic with the desire of yourself and your group to implement your plan, I must say that you should have realized that matters of this kind cannot be attended to by Ms. Keller and her assistants overnight. So then it probably goes on and on and on about the legal, who gets to use Helen's name and how do they get to use it. And here's a letter in German. I can't really understand the date, but I think it might be 1959, but this is German. And here's a handwritten letter dated November 24th, 1966. It says, "Dear Ms. Keller, our Deaf-Blind Detroit Club would like to form a Helen Keller Foundation. We would appreciate your personal approval." So Helen, her fame is so immense, and so especially as the years go on, just anybody and everybody writes her and tries to use her name. And the files are just full of this sort of thing. So here's the response. Helen didn't respond to it. It was responded to by some functionary at AFB. And it's impossible to give permission to use her name. She received so many such requests that it would be impossible to grant all of them, and for this reason she finds it better not to lend her name to any such organization. So that's what this file evidently is. Lots of letters like that, people asking for permission to use her name, and probably in most cases the answer is no, because she's gotten so famous that everybody wants a piece of her. But over the next months and years, obviously, we will be going through all of these and finding all kinds of treasures individual. And it's just grabbing a box off the top. It's even just grabbing a random box, some interesting stuff about Helen Keller's life. Okay, so let's see. This is box 50 of the Helen Keller Artifacts. So here we have okay, so this is a little piece, a promotional piece from the American Association of Workers for the Blind that goes along with a plate, which is wrapped up here, I'm guessing. So I've seen these before. These were made by Fran Kona, which is a pretty standard collectible company that makes collectibles, and they made this plate. We actually have one in the museum collection, so nothing special here. Interesting, but nothing special. Okay, next this is box 37. So this is a group of medals and awards that Helen would have received over time. Let's just look at one of them here. So it's a pin, and I don't know if you can see that, but on the top of it it says Dr. Helen Keller, and then inscribed into the medallion it says, presented by the American Association of Workers for the Blind, Daytona Beach, Florida, June 28, 1951, in loving recognition of your faithful services for the blind and the deafblind. And so this box is full of awards and medals. There's a lovely little medal. It says, speech is the birthright of every child. Helen Keller, and then it has a relief sculpture of Helen's face on it. And on the back it says 100 years oral education of the deaf. So that's what's in here, different awards and medals and pins that she would either have given or that were created in honor of her. Here it is. This is box 52. Box 52 is another collectible plate, and it has a picture of Ivy Green, her birthplace. So Helen is just so famous. I mean, you get plates, you get medals, you get awards, just about anything and everything that could be named after somebody. There's something in this collection that celebrates that. So this is box 41. There are over 300 of these boxes full of objects in the collection. This is a cool one. So I don't remember this fellow's name, but a few months ago when we put her desk, Helen Keller's desk, on display, we had a great picture up in the museum that shows her desk as it was being used in about 1950, and sitting on her desk is a bust of this man who is one of the pioneers of blind education in Japan. Helen went to Japan twice in her life, at least that I know of, and she was very popular and well loved by the people of Japan. And so this is Toshiro Furukawa. It's got a label on the back. Founder, Education of Deaf Blind in Japan. And so this was something that's sat on Helen's desk for many years. So this is really cool. One of the things we're going to probably do with the desk is try to recreate that entire setting and put all of the things that were on her desk originally back on the desk. So just 4 boxes and a pretty cool start. This is an interesting shaped container. Not sure exactly what it might be. It's box 39. Ooh, wow. handmade walking cane. I look forward to learning more about the story of this, because that's very beautiful. This is obviously something that's never been used, I would say. Interestingly enough, Helen never used a long cane that we know of. She was always used a sighted guide to get around. But yeah, and carved into the handle, it says Helen Keller, so this is something that was made specifically for her. Probably a gift that was presented to her somewhere on her world travels. I wouldn't even suppose to guess where she might have gotten this, but it's going to be somewhere in the records. But that's really beautiful. So she would travel all around the world and would frequently be given really wonderful gifts, vases. This is just a good example of that, walking cane. So this box is probably just full of that sort of thing.